Welcome to Cheese In Depth. I'm Michael Landis, and today we're really fortunate to be able to have an opportunity to be able to meet and talk with Amy with Idyll Farms. This is really a special opportunity because we hear so much about cheeses from all over the United States, from California, from Vermont, from Wisconsin and everything, and New York, but rarely do we hear anything from Michigan. And that is actually my home state. So I'm very happy to be able to, include Amy into our group here and get a little bit of love for Michigan. So I'm going to take this time to introduce you to Amy. Amy?
Hi. Thanks everybody for joining. My name is Amy Spitznagel. I'm an owner of Idyll Farms, and I'm here with Melissa Hiles, who is our head cheesemaker and farm manager of Idyll Farms. And we'd love to share a little bit about our farm with you today. So our first cheese today is the cheese that is the most accessible cheese in our collection, Idyll Pastures Spreadable, and this is just, we call it plain because we don't add any type of flavoring to it. The thing I like to say about this cheese is don't ask what it can do, ask what it can't do. I mean, it basically pairs with everything. Yeah, you can use it you can see the suggestions that we, salad topper, cheesecake, deviled eggs, pasta filling, any of these salads, tuna chicken potato salad, top it on the chili, add it to tacos. I mean, this is like an everyday cheese that you could use for every meal if you wanted to. It takes 2 days to make this cheese. We say it's 3 days away from being pasture grasses from our pasture. So this is a cheese that we drain in a cheesecloth. As we have the plain version of the spreadable, we have a garlic and herb version, and we have a honey lavender version of the spreadable. And today, Michael, did you want to talk about the pairings that you wanted to do with the spreadable today?
It has a nice tanginess to it. You really taste the lemony flavors that really come out well with it. I really enjoy that. So I wanted to kind of play on some of the butter that's in there. So I have an Effie's corn cake. I love these corn cakes. They have some sweetness to them, but also at the same time, they also have that natural flavor. So, I mean, this is just so beautiful. It's got such a great spread to it. And, using this as an appetizer, as a snack, and like you said, being able to spread that anywhere. And I went with Bonnie's Jams. And this is a red pepper jelly that, I wanted to kind of capitalize the sweet, the sour, and these jams are just crazy thick and good. So that's kind of the direction that I went.
I actually found a pairing for this today, which it's actually a sparkling sake wine, and it's got a really light flavor. And because of the lightness of this plain cheese, I thought it was just a really delicate thing to pair it with. So I'm drinking this sparkling sake wine, and this flavor is strawberry rose, which is interesting, but it's very, very light.
Pepper has some heat to it, and the tanginess of the cheese really kind of cools that down a little bit. And then the corn cakes kind of come in to add a little bit of a structure flavor to it. But, this Lagunitas Daytime IPA, it's a session IPA, so it's not a big time full in the face with hops. It's got a little bit of citrus in here that does a great job of being able to clean the palate. But it's just a really nice, when you think about the way that this is something that you can really enjoy during the day. Appetizers, something very light. So you really want to have something that's light and easy to be able to drink, and that's kind of where the Lagunitas Daytime comes in. The flavors together, you know, gives you some sweetness, some tanginess, a little bit of heat, and then of course quenching your thirst.
Yeah, so a lot of people ask me what my favorite cheese is, and I kind of say it depends on the time of the day. In the morning and in the afternoon, I go from the morning to the very fresh cheeses, you know, with my eggs for breakfast or lunch. Like you could mix this in with a smoked fish. We're right in the Great Lakes. I picked up some smoked fish from a neighboring town today, and I was going to maybe make a little whitefish spread out of this for an afternoon snack. And then in the evening, I moved to the aged cheeses, which we'll get to in a little bit. We labeled all of our fresh cheeses Idyll Pastures because we really want to emphasize that our goats are pasture raised, pasture fed, and we really want to reflect the elements of the pasture in these fresh cheeses. So the next cheese that we're going to taste is called Fennel Pollen. This did win a couple of awards. I should mention that Spreadable Plain won a best in class at ACS last year. This past year, this cheese won a couple of awards at ACS and the World Championship Cheese Contest and was featured in Culture magazine. It's one of the best cheeses of 2019. Once again, all these fresh cheeses are nitrogen sealed. When you take the lid off, it has a nitrogen seal on it. You peel that back, and once it's opened, it's good for, I would eat it within the week. You can maybe do 2 weeks. If that seal is still intact, it's good for 120 days after it leaves the creamery. So that's
We do have a question, and they ask whether or not how your climate, it's unique. How does that affect your cheese making?
Melissa, do you want to handle this question?
Right now, the climate's extremely humid, so it's making it a little harder in the caves. I actually had to shut down my fresh air a little bit today. You know, the humidity's high, so sometimes we just have to age them a little bit longer, drain them a little bit longer, and get the whey out of them. The rinds are coming in great still, so we're not having an issue with that. We have a great facility, so it's usually just slight changes. The facility's pretty good though. Not a lot of gaps or holes in it, so not a whole lot of changes.
So I just wanted to mention again about our Idyll Pastures series. So we have the Idyll Pastures Spreadable. We are going to be slightly changing the packaging so you could tell the difference. Right now it's just a little red mark that says Spreadable from the Idyll Pastures, which is a disc form. So once you take it out, it looks like this. A little disc shape, and it sits really well on a cheese plate. It is sliceable, and it's also spreadable. And sometimes I prefer to use this as a spreadable. A lot of chefs use the plain puck or the garlic and herb puck, which we'll be tasting next, for pasta sauces, just to mix it in a pasta to make it creamy. Or it could sit well on a cheese plate. This fennel pollen flavor in particular, I love on a charcuterie board with salamis or prosciutto or something a little bit spicy, because this does have a kick to it once you taste it.
I found that the pollen has such a nice earthiness to it that I just really love the way that just was so simple and very uncomplicated. And so I really didn't want to get into a big thing with it. So I just stayed with something with the rosemary theme, because I really think that the pollen fella and the rosemary works really well. So what I did was I paired it up with something very originally simple, and this is the Firehook rosemary and sea salt, which makes it really simple, but it gives it a little bit of additional flavor. And then I wanted to give it a little kick, and with goat cheese, having oranges with that. So this is taste elevated, and it's candy, oranges, and rosemary. I paired it up with the Highland Brewery Gaelic Ale, which is a kind of like an IP or American Pale Ale-ish there. But one thing that it's got all of this amber malt to it that really gives it some structure. And so the oranges, the goat cheese, the fennel, and the rosemary sea salt is kind of the direction that I went.
Beautiful. Culture Magazine also featured this cheese paired up with pineapple this past year, which I thought was a really interesting pairing. I'm going to try it with, we have a local mead maker in Ann Arbor, Michigan called Bloom. And to go along with the pollen, you know, that maybe bees might be eating, we do keep bees on our property as well. Here's some of the honey that has been coming from the bees on our property to enhance our pastures. But I'm going to try it with a little bit of this this mead.
You know, if you had a lasagna, and after it was cooked, to crumble this onto the lasagna with the fennel pollen would be just magnificent. It'd give it some tanginess. It would give them the licorice kind of flavor that you get in true Italian lasagna. This is just really well balanced. You know, a lot of times when you're working with additives, it's easy to get heavy-handed and for it to be all one thing. In other words, you take a bite and that's all you taste is the fennel pollen. But in here, I get a really nice balance of the goat cheese. I get the fennel here. It's really a magnificent blend. You really did a great job. And, you know, you don't need to add more to this. This is a cheese that, you know, you put it on a simple rosemary or olive oil or sea salt cracker, you know, you're really going to do well with it just because it's got such great flavors already.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to point out again about the Idyll Pastures, which is the little puck size disc. It's got a very, I don't know if you're noticing, like a marshmallowy texture. It's very fluffy. And we worked hard on getting that right balance for that certain texture. So we experimented with aging at 3 days, aging at 4 days, 5 days. We finally came up with a perfect match for the amount of draining and drying time of that cheese to get that right texture. And then once it's sealed, it just stays like that fluffy, nice texture.
So with all the flavors that you can add into it, and God knows there's a million goat cheese flavors out there, you know, why pollen fennel? Why go that way?
Well, we wanted to do something different than what everybody else was doing. And like you said, we don't want to overpower the cheese with anything. And it just seemed like a interesting idea. We go through many different R&D things. We have things in our pipeline that we've been developing as well. So our other flavors of our Idyll Pastures, we will be tasting the garlic and herb today. Like I said, we have the plain, which is a chef favorite to do sweet or savory with. With the plain, you can just pour olive oil on it, fresh herbs. You want to do savory. If you want to do sweet, you can put honey on it with fresh berries. It's a very versatile cheese, obviously. We also have a honey lavender flavor of the Spreadable as well as the Pastures. So you can see our garlic and herb Idyll Pastures has done very well for us at the award show, winning at ACS, at the U.S. Championship Cheese Contest, a first and second place there, and at the World Championship Cheese Contest. So Like I said, we have the disc form. We also have the spreadable version of this. So if I were to choose, I would go with this pasture form 100%, just because it's so versatile. You can slice it or you can spread it. A lot of people just like to see the spreadable because that's what they're familiar with. But you know, if they try this other one, they could do a taste test on their own, see which one that they like better. But I just really like the marshmallowy, fluffy texture of these Idyll Pastures. So with this garlic and herb, a local chef in Detroit, he just is featuring it on his wood-fired pizzas as a pizza topping for his mushroom pizza. I often mix it into an omelet, or, you know, put it next to my fried egg with microgreens in the morning. Spread it on a bruschetta, a toasted bruschetta. It's also a very versatile cheese, and the garlic and herb flavor is a really accessible flavor for everybody. I would say it's our most popular flavor out of all of our cheeses. Would you say the spreadable? The spreadable, just because I think more people are familiar with the spreadable version. I think, like I said, if they got to know our regular disc version, they might prefer it.
Like you mentioned before, for the first one, that a spicy salami charcuterie goes really well with it. And I bounce back and forth. You know, I don't think that the salami would be bad with either one of them. But I really like the way that the garlic played in with all the spicy flavors of the chorizo. And this is an American version of the chorizo. This is from Volpi. And this is, you know, one of the more, I think, authentic flavors, because you really get the nice spiciness to it with this. And then, as you said before, that this cheese, when this warms up, and a lot of people say, well, how long should I leave it out, you know, to you know, get room temperature? Well, you know, in Florida, that could be 5 minutes. But you know, you really want it to be creamy. And that's exactly what this is. This has got a great creaminess to it. And the herbs on this are just, they look beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful looking piece of cheese. And then to keep the structure of this simple, I'm using the Rustic Bakery. This is the olive oil or seagrass. It's the organic sourdough. And I just, you know, love the way that these all, you know, play together. I stayed with the Gaelic ale. You know, there's no reason when you're shifting over to these two, they're so close in reality of the kind of flavor characteristics that the Gaelic ale just actually hops over. And you know, a lot of times I'll go and I'll find something new. But when I tried these, it was like, there's a similarity that you have between these. But the spiciness, the chorizo, the coolness of the cheese, the herbs on this, magnificent.
Thank you. Yes, and I don't know if you queued up the other video I sent about whatever floats your goat roll, but this spreadable version is featured in that video, and I also pair it with the salami and put it into a wrap.
You know, I'd like to stop now and just sit down and just eat this plate up. It's just so good together. The tanginess of the chorizo that just blends perfectly with the tanginess of the goat cheese. This is a really fun little snack, and or it could be actually dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and I think that goat cheese in theory has come such a long way in acceptance in the grocery stores and in retail with consumers. And it's really nice to see that you have such a top shelf, high quality goat cheese that, you know, majority of the time, I give you a lot of credit for this, is that what you can see here is this is creamy. It's not chalky. It's not crumbly in the fact that it's dry. It has a lot of moisture. But one of the things that you look at in the packaging is there's no seeping. You know, I've gone in and picked up what looks like a soggy log of cheese, you know, with so much whey that's in there, and it's just mush. This is beautiful, real goat cheese. You know, just amazing.
Yes, we worked on this packaging too. Sometimes you might get a little bit of whey on the bottom, but we did, I've got a sticker on the bottom of this one. We did make a little bit of indentation. It's actually our goat logo on the bottom here, just in case there's a little bit of whey. And of course, everybody in the cheese world knows that the whey is harmless. It's just a little bit of drainage from the cheese itself, but also in the packaging, it's not being mushed in a vacuum sealed log package form. It is intact in this disc. So when you take it out and set it on the cheese board, it's still going to look nice. You don't have to shape it back into a form after it gets mushed out of a vacuum seal. So we worked hard on this packaging as well as a lot of our other packaging to make sure that the cheese looks as beautiful when it comes out as when it goes in. So, and one thing that you'll notice on these Idyll Pastures is if we do add a flavoring, it's just delicately placed on the outside. It's not mixed into the cheese, so it's just on the sitting on the outside. The spreadable versions, when we do our flavorings, it is mixed throughout consistently. So that's another difference between the spreadable version and the disc version. Mont Idyll has been a great cheese for us the past couple years. You can see how well it's done at ACS, winning a lot of first places. It was featured in Culture magazine. It's done really well for us at ACS, and we picked up a Good Foods Award this year in San Francisco right before all of the crazy COVID stuff happened in January. But as you can see, it's a Valencia style cheese. Comes in some great packaging so that it keeps its shape very nicely. A Valencia style cheese comes from the Valencia village in the French Loire Valley. And legend has it is Napoleon visited this village after he had a failed campaign attempt in Egypt. And he was presented with a pyramid-style goat cheese, and he was angry about his defeat. So he took his sword out and cut the top of the pyramid off of the goat cheese, and legend has it that's how it got its shape. And we thought it would be fun to do this style at Idyll Farms, and we have a little mount on our hills at the farm that we call Mont Idyll, so we named it after Mont Idyll. So Mont Idyll has a geo and penicillin rind, so you see starts to develop wrinkles on the rind, and also a bloomy rind from the penicillin. So, and it's ash ripened, so it's painted with the vegetable, hand painted with the vegetable ash. Our vegetable ash happens to be burned carrot tops, as far as we know. And it just helps with the aging process, as many of you probably are familiar with the ash ripened cheeses. So let's cut into this. You know, I really liked to pair things seasonally with whatever fruit is in season. So in the summertime, you know, the pitted fruits start to come out, especially around this region. Tomatoes start to become, and you can actually make a version of the Caprese salad with this cheese. As you slice it, it can slice into some interesting shapes. Here I just sliced off a little pyramid. So you can make some interesting cheese boards with the different shapes of this cheese. And it looks great just sitting out on a cheese board. So you can layer this with an heirloom tomato, some olive oil and basil, salt and pepper. You've got a beautiful summer goat cheese caprese salad. So this is going to age from the outside in. It's surface ripened, so it will develop a cream line under the rind as it ages, and it will start to get a little bit stronger. And the paste on the inside will evolve as well. It starts out young and fluffy, and then it gets a little bit denser and creamier and stronger as it ages.
You know, this is just a beautiful cheese. And, you know, what you have to appreciate is that this is a masterpiece. This is a work of art. When you look at the rind development here, and you look at the creaminess, you look at the slight separation of the butter fat here, this is absolutely beautiful. You know, a lot of times when people are trying to buy a piece of cheese, they're looking for a cheese that's pristine white. You don't need that. That says that it's too young. This has got some nice aging. You can really see how that comes across there. So that butter fat is just beautiful, that layer there. It has such a nice layout. So I decided that, you know, there's I mean, honey, there are so many things that you can do with this, but I went with the Three Little Pigs. You know, they do this really sweet, amazing mini pepper that is just so flavorful and rich. And you know, when I did it, I was like, you know, this is so good. It's so strong. There's so much to it that you can really throw some more stuff. So I decided to use the Brewer's Crackers, which is you know, Sprint grain. They're everything flatbread. So it's kind of like, you know, everything that you could possibly put in with the cheese. And, you know, it's absolutely just so rich in its flavors and also simple.
Well, my pairing is a local wine here from Leelanau. It's a Prosecco. So it is a sparkling rosé. And, you know, you're supposed to pair wines from the region with the cheese. So if you can get your hands on any of this, it's a beautiful light rosé with a little bit of effervescence to it. And it goes really well especially with the Mont Idyll.
Well, I went with, this is a local brewery. This is Crooked Thumb out of Safety Harbor. A friend of mine is, you know, the brewer owner and all that. Him and I have done a lot of pairings together. And this is a Vienna Lager. This is their harbor lager. And what I love about Vienna lagers is that, you know, when you think about a Miller Bud, they're Pilsner's lager style where they're crystal clear. You can see how much amber is in here. This is a lot. This is like having a biscuit in itself. It's got so much flavor. And that's, I didn't want any hoppiness in here. All the herb and everything that is going to be here. And then, of course, this rind has a nice spiciness. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about the bloomy rind.
Melissa, do you want to talk about the bloomy rind?
Yeah, so this cheese, it ages in our cave for up to about 18 days. So initially, you know, it goes in the cave, it's almost black. You know, it's just slowly, you know, the molds come in, and it just evolves over those 18 days. Gets a little more firm when you get to the 18 days. But it's just an incredible cheese.
What you're seeing is, you know, you can see as we hand paint the cheese, it's a black vegetable ash. And then as the penicillin rind grows over it, the white rind, it turns more of a gray color. And there it's paired with an orange marmalade. I like to also take a strawberry and take a slice of this and just put a toothpick in it. You can serve it as an appetizer, a little strawberry kebab that way too. It's super easy for summertime, especially during the strawberry season. This cheese is actually a little version of our Idyll Gris. And we submitted it last year at ACS with its new name, Idyll Puck. And it won a best in class at ACS. So this Idyll Puck was inspired. I have a 14-year-old who is a hockey player. So my family's life has revolved around his hockey as well. And I notice I keep calling the shape of this cheese a puck. And, you know, I'm like, well, why don't we just call it Idyll Puck? You know, we live in Hockey Town, which is Detroit. You know, it just kind of stuck with a mythology of Puck being the mythological half goat creature in, you know, in Midsummer Night's Dream. His name was Puck. It just kind of all kind of came together. So it's a similar recipe as our Mont Idyll and of course our Idyll Gris, as it is an ash ripened cheese. We do hand paint that cheese and age it the same way. It does have a geo and penicillin rind, but it's just a different form. It's in the puck. It's in the puck shape and size. So it's just going to age a little bit differently as the Mont Idyll in that pyramid style cheese, and the Idyll Gris, which is a little bit of a larger format with the ash in the middle. So, and it's also a great size that you can eat it all in one sitting. You don't have to, because we made this packaging, you know, so that if you don't eat the whole cheese, that you could just put it back in its little mini cave and save it in this. And the rind might grow over a little piece that you sliced off, but that's all great and good, and still eat it after that. So it's our newest branding called Idyll Puck. So similar things that you could pair with our Idyll Gris or Mont Idyll with this one. You know, you could go with any of the white wines, Pinot Grigio, a dry Riesling, a Sancerre, anything from the Loire Valley. I like the lighter white wines, the lighter whites. As it ages and gets a little bit more flavor, you can go a little bit heavier with a Chardonnay or some of the lighter reds. So what do you have paired up with it today?
Well, for beer wise, I've stayed again with the same. There's so much similarity in here that I really felt that the Vienna Lager is going to go really well, and it has. So, but you know, one of the things that this I think differentiates from what we had with the previous cheese, the Puck, is that we have a creaminess and a tang in here. And this tang was really surprising to me. I was kind of expecting it to be a little more buttery, but the tang is magnificent. It's not taking away from the buttery flavor. It actually works really well. So what I thought was that, well, if I got all this tang, then what else can I do with it? So that's when I thought, well, you know, this is where our honey comes in. So I have the Effie's. They're these homemade oat cakes. This is their original, and I just love these because this is like oatmeal in a way. And so the cheese, and then Savannah bee honey. This is a whipped honey with lemon, and I think that you don't want to lose that tanginess that you get from here, and I just really want to keep that kind of together, keep it going, and that's kind of why I went with the lemon version of it.
So I like to pair any of our cheeses. I try to stay away from a lot of gluten just for my own purposes, and a lot of customers are trying to go gluten-free. So, you can buy so many different type of chips nowadays. You can buy beet chips, you can buy sweet potato chips, any of those different style of chips. It's not just plain potato chips go well. You can also just slice up a raw fruit. You can slice up a raw apple, a raw nectarine, peach. Any of these stone fruits work excellent. Apricot with any of these aged cheeses, I would say. So I try to offer that on a cheese plate as an alternative to just a cracker, which I have my favorite crackers as well. But
this is a magnificent dessert. This would be something that, I mean, you could go savory or you could go dessert with the whipped honey with lemon and the sweetness of the oat cakes. It really brings out the buttery creaminess of the cheese, and that tang, I guess, kind of works in its favor to bring out more butter. So you get a little more of that rich flavor that you'd expect from it. You don't really pick up a lot of times when we're with bloomy rinds, you get a heavy, earthy or mushroom flavor. This is one of the cleanest rinds I've ever tasted. It's just so beautiful to the balance of flavor. It's not overpowering. It blends in really well. I would hardly even notice that it was a bloomy rind if I didn't eat it alone, but it blends really well with other flavors. And not a lot of bloomy rinds can do that. Sometimes the bloomy rinds will accent the earthiness or become a little stronger, pick up a little soiled, earthy to it. This doesn't. It blends perfect. This is a great opportunity to do a nice dessert style with it. And then, of course, the Vienna Lager with its nice maltiness and cleaning.
I'm glad you mentioned that about the sweetness, Michael, because I do like, as a cheese ages and gets a little stronger, I do like to intensify the sweetness. I kind of try to match, the lightness to, if the cheese is really light, I want to stay light with the flavors. But if it's starting to age and get a little more flavorful, I do want to intensify. If I'm going to pair it with a sweet thing, I do want to intensify the sweetness with it. So like a heavier honey, or more of a dried fruit instead of a fresh fruit. So that's how I would change it up if the cheese was getting a little bit on the older side or more intense side.
At the beginning, I had the red pepper jam and jelly. That would work really well with this also, because you can really pick up a little bit of spiciness, and this handles it really well. This has got such a nice balance of flavors. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't just love this at every occasion. And I love the packaging. I love the idea that you can take a little bit and have a little snack, or if you don't finish it. But I have to say, at my house, this puck is it's a single serving.
Right. It's a perfect size for a single serving. And, it's goat cheese. So guilt-free. It's pasture-raised goat cheese. You can't get any healthier.
Yeah.
So guilt-free.
Guilt-free. Absolutely.
So Idyllweiss. Idyllweisses are our only mixed milk cheese that we carry in our line right now. So it is primarily our pasture-raised farmstead goat milk, but it's got a splash of cow cream in it. So this is a dual milk cheese. So once again, it's not pan painted with the vegetable ash, but it does have the geo and the penicillin rind. So this is going to start really mild, and as it ages, get more of a kick to it, a little bit of spice to it, and you will notice with the paste and texture of this cheese, it is a much more buttery cheese than the other cheeses in our line. So it can go with more of a light red wine if you wanted to do a more buttery Chardonnay. I still wouldn't go super heavy cab or anything like that with it unless it was really more aged. But this is our Idyllweiss. I like to pair this with figs or dried fruits because it's got more of a richer flavor to it. Wrapped in a piece of prosciutto with melon in it is also a great pairing. I picked for the pairing of this actually a hard cider that I bought down the road from here. And this is a peach flavor cider. So like I said before, because it's a richer cheese, you can get sweeter. You can pair it with a sweeter, more intense flavor. So what have you got going with the Idyllweiss today?
It has a lot of the classic flavors that you find in Gris, and it reminded me a little bit of a camembert. And so I was kind of thinking, well, you know, the fig is magnificent. A fig, Marcona almonds, it is magnificent. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But as I was tasting it, I was thinking, you know what? This is something that you could really step up into and really bring a lot of additional flavors and richness to this. And so I decided to go with a pate, with a mousse here. And so what I found with this is that it's got the rich flavor and characteristic here on the butters that you get from the cow's milk and also from the goat's milk. So I wanted to really bring out the richness that I could have with it. So this is the Three Little Pigs. It's the mousse truffle. It's a pork and chicken mousse with truffles. So it's a really simple, you know, basically uncomplicated mousse. I really love this because I, you know, growing up in farm country, being able to have, you know, simple foods of like sausages and that, this goes really well. And because of the intensity, I didn't want the wafer to get in the way. So I went with the petite toast. And petite toasts have a technical ability of being able to mellow everything out. And so when you put these guys together and you get the cheese with the rind and you get the meatiness of the pork and the chicken and the truffle, the petite toast actually mellows everything out. So it's kind of cool that way that you get an interesting balance between them. And I discovered this when doing Limburger or wash drying cheeses where they became overly powerful, that the petite toast can really settle that in. And I paired it up, and I thought about a cider. As a matter of fact, originally I pulled out a Gypsy Circus cider that I really love, Queen of Swords, which has got a lot of sweetness to it. And then I was thinking about the earthiness and intensity, and it's just it doesn't have enough bite to be able to go through all of these flavors. And so I went with the Sweetwater, the 420, the extra pale ale, and that gives me some hoppiness. It gives me a little citrus. It gives me a little pine. Gives me a effervescence, a strength to help clean the palate when you're working with something like this.
It's interesting that you mentioned that it's a little bit like a camembert. We do make a camembert. We're not tasting it today, but it's 100% goat milk camembert in our line. But yes, I can see your point, and especially, you know, the way this evolves in the aging process. Once again, it is where's our packaging for that one? Oh, here we go.
You know,
once again, if you don't want to eat the whole thing and you want to experiment with the way this cheese evolves, just eat a partial slice of it, put it back in there, wait a week, and see how it changes. See what the rind development does, what the cream lime develops, that inside the paste is going to change, and the flavor is going to intensify. So any of our aged cheese, excluding the camembert, can be aged indefinitely. In fact, Melissa, you say you like this cheese specifically when it's very aged.
Very aged.
Yeah, almost like a dry.
I'll leave it in the cave for a month, and that's when I love it.
Yeah, we don't sell it. You know, we sell it with a shelf life when it leaves the creamery of about 30 days. But that's just a guideline for American palates. These cheeses can be aged indefinitely until you don't feel like you like it anymore. It's just a matter of taste.
Is more of a creamy version. It has got so much. This is the Three Little Pigs, and working with this, the butter flavors, and then you can see the texture, the coarseness that this works, and it literally is a buttered sandwich with chicken and pork and truffles that work
really
perfectly with the butter of the cheese.
That sounds amazing. I'm going to have to try that next, Michael.
Mm.
I'm glad we're sharing our ideas together, and I'm glad that you are pairing things with beer, because it's not something that I am necessarily drink a lot of. So I don't tend to go for the beers, but I'm glad you're giving everybody options for that. I also wanted to mention that some of our, cheeses like the Idyllweiss would go really well with a dark chocolate. So I bought this cherries and almonds dark chocolate. We are cherry capital of the world here, so you got to try it with a little bit of a cherry flavor. And like it's been mentioned before, you can go sweet or you can go savory, so you can make it into a dessert. Oh, so this is pretty much our full line of cheeses, excluding our newest branding of the Idyll Puck. But you can see we have well, what's now 5 or 6. We don't have Temptation on this picture as well, because we don't often offer it to distributors. It's very limited quantities with that cheese. But you can see our Idyll Gris, which has done amazing at a lot of award shows. That's the one with the ash line in the middle. Our Mont Idyll that we tasted today, our Idyllweiss that we tasted today, the camembert, which I mentioned, 100% goat milk camembert style. Our 3 spreadables, which are garlic and herb, the plain, which we tasted today, and I mentioned we do a honey lavender. And then our Idyll Pastures, which is in that disc or puck form. Our garlic and herb and fennel pollen, which we tasted today, we do offer the plain. and a honey lavender, which is a very kind of trendy flavor as well this year. So with that honey lavender, the honey is mixed into that cheese, and the lavender flowers are lightly sprinkled on top of that cheese.
All right. So
Dark chocolate with the Idyllweiss. That's amazing too. Well, I'd just like to thank you, Michael, for having us on your program today, and just emphasize that, you know, we really are a pasture-based goat dairy, which is pretty. So we are, as far as we know, the largest pasture-based goat dairy in the United States right now. So we're really proud of that. We're proud of everything we've accomplished with our awards the past 8 years. You know, outwinning a lot of our competitors that have been doing it for a long time, and also learning a lot from them, going to the ACS conventions and different programs, and a lot of the sharing that they've been able to do throughout the years with programs like what you're doing, Michael, with these Zoom conferences. So I want to thank everybody that came before us as well, and I'd love to work together and continue to make amazing goat cheese and make it a household everyday thing, because it really is a healthy thing to eat, and you really can put it into any meal that you're eating pretty easily. The more that, you know, you think about pairing. So
I want to thank you both for taking the time today. You know, a lot of people don't realize that, you know, you're on a farm that things don't stop. The goats still need to be milked. The cheese has got to be put away. Things have got to be done. So taking the time, I really appreciate that you were able to make this time available for us. And your cheeses, all exceptional. Anytime that you get a chance to be able to order these cheeses in, do it, because this is exceptional. You know, you're not going to find this quality, this uniqueness, and like you said, the grass-fed flavors that you get that are very, very natural. The terroir from Michigan is really an exceptional area, and it's really nice to know that you're up there working in you know, northern Michigan, taking care of the goats and having that fresh water and the fresh air and all those things that make your cheese really special. So thank you again for coming out and playing today. I really appreciate it.
yeah, so this is just a really easy idea to for summertime picnicking, or to bring to the beach. Hi everybody, my name is Amy Spitznagel. I'm the owner of Idyll Farms, and we're overlooking the Idyll Pastures. Today we're going to make a fun appetizer that you can take to the beach, and it's called Whatever Floats Your Goat Roll. So the reason why this is called Whatever Floats Your Goat Roll is because you can basically look in your refrigerator and see what you have that would pair well with any of our cheeses. You don't have to use the garlic and herb. You could use our Fennel Pollen. You could use some of our aged cheeses, whatever you happen to have in your refrigerator. And let's say you have pickled asparagus, that works well. Let's say you have pickled beets, that would be, put some color into it. Put some lettuce, some bell peppers, whatever seems to float your goat. So these are the really easy ingredients to make whatever floats your goat roll. We're going to start out with the Idyll Pastures garlic and herb spreadable goat cheese, which we have here, some salami, some bruschetta that's made out of sun-dried tomato, and if you need some spice, some sliced out of jalapeno peppers, and a tortilla of your choice. So hopefully you got some ideas and you found your own ingredients in your refrigerator that would pair well with Idyll Farms cheese and whatever floats your goat. I'm really happy about this combination. It turned out really well. Hopefully yours turns out too.
Bye, Amy.
Bye, thank you so much. And you know, visit our website. If you didn't get a chance to see the video at the beginning and the sound, please give us a call if you have any questions about anything else.